We're going to go ahead and start what we can start without taking votes. Is that in order, Attorney Miller?
Yes, I would take the roll call.
I think we would probably start with a roll call.
Yes.
And then we'll move into the items that we can discuss. And we're going to kind of jump around on the agenda today. I do apologize for that, but time is of the essence.
All right.
That-
All right. We'll do the roll call. Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly? Ms. Link? Ms. Revel?
Here.
Mr. Scott? And Mr. Thompson.
We do not have a quorum. So with that, I believe we'll go down to the first item that does not require a vote, which would be old business.
Certainly, Chairman. That's the first item is 1021 High Street, which is the former Mary Jane property. Let me back up. We initially came to the EDA to discuss potentially painting one of the buildings. However, in working with engineering, I did not see Mr. Wright here. He should be here this morning. But we are working with Mr. Wright to demolish the buildings currently located on that property, which I believe is 3 structures. And that should be completed within the next 3 to 6 months. But we have begun that process. So that is an update for.
Can I ask a question?
Councilwoman.
Mr. Moore, I have
Vice Mayor.
street talk. I have heard tell that if the building is torn down, the historic tax credits that could go with the building also go away. Is that true, or does that make any sense?
That could make sense. I will say that we will look into that certainly as we go through that process to see where we are. I don't want to say yes or no without doing some further
Just heard that from some
research.
folks who had some interest in the building, that if the building went down, then so did the tax credits, and it might make it not as attractive for a buyer.
We will certainly look into that.
Not that it's attractive now, but just a comment.
No problem. Yes, ma'am. We will certainly look into that and report back to you on that.
I think there might be a way to get around it if you try to leave a shell of the building in some kind of shape, form, or fashion.
Okay.
But certainly, our city attorney can.
Yeah, we can certainly look into that.
I mean, I have no idea. I'm just repeating
Yeah.
No problem.
comments.
Okay.
James, what?
James is here if he can ask that question. Okay. It looks like now we have a quorum. So at 8:09, we will
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So do we need to just modify the roll call on that, or
Another one.
I think you can just note Mr. Scott's
He's here at
presence.
8:09.
All right.
Okay. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and move right over to the minutes. We'll start at the top. For the commission, we have meetings of, we actually have 2 meetings, so we'll take separate votes on that. The meeting of December 19th, that's our regularly called meeting. If there's no comments, Chair will entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second. And Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets?
Yes.
Ms. Revel?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Second set of minutes that were distributed is a joint meeting with the PPIC on December the 19th, 2017. If there are no additions or modifications, the Chair would entertain a motion for approval.
I do have some additions on that meeting. I think it would be good to just include a statement about one of the PPIC commissioners mentioned the 510-acre the Coney Island property. Is that how you say it?
Creighton?
Craney Island, the Craney Island property site, and the potential for Economic Development Department to pursue auxiliary services, comparable companies, to establish a presence in Portsmouth. I think that's very important
Okay.
because that sort of gives an additional charge for the Department of Economic Development as they pursue prospects.
What Craney Island property are we speaking of?
I went back and I viewed the the video, and one of the PPIC commissioners mentioned that.
That's, I know, I heard you, but I'm asking,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr., what property we have entitled
Well,
Craney
I think-
Island that the city has oversight of?
Nothing that we have oversight of, Dr.
Oh,
Patton, but
okay.
more of a, the suggestion was made that.
For the prospects.
For the prospects that are, service-oriented or that are related to the port. And with the
Right.
expansion of the port in Craney Island, we should concentrate our efforts on businesses that utilize the port. So we will make sure that is
Yes,
duly
'cause that's
noted
a critical
in the
point.
minutes.
Okay.
So is that a motion
That's a motion with that addition.
with the amendment? Chair, entertain a second?
Okay. All right. Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets?
Yes.
Ms. Revel?
Yes.
And Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we'll move on to the financials, December financials, and Ms. Blackford.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you. Just going to give some brief highlights of the December statement. As at 12/31/2017, total net position was $13,693,599.56. Total revenues for December was $10,606.99, and total expenditures was $21,495.62. This resulted in a net loss of $10,888.63. The cash and temporary investment balance was $1,855,132.27. Grants available to be awarded was $234,786.13, and the ending pool cash balance was $114,086.76.
Commissioners have any comments, questions?
Get you a set.
No, these are mine.
If I could just give a quick, I did speak with the treasurer, just briefly after these went out. He reviewed them. He had no additional comments. So our treasurer is in agreement with the acceptance of the December financials. I spoke with Mr. Kelly about this, and he seemed to have no real concerns. Again, comments, questions from the commissioners?
My only comment is, and it's a continuous one at this point, we have to stay mindful that our cash position is steadily increasing, and at the level it is now, it's a real concern, because if there are any opportunities that come up, it will be very hard for us to act on it. And with that said, I will move that we accept the financials, but commissioners, let's keep that at the forefront.
I agree with you.
We just need a second.
We need a second.
I want a second, but I want to ask this: how would you help affect? How can we affect that position? I mean, with some of the information that's coming to us, I don't think we have a lot of
Sell some property.
impact. Other
Sell
than,
property.
Other than selling property, that's not.
Well, sell property. We have a good portfolio, but we need to be able to pursue prospects that will be able to purchase those properties and turn that into revenue, turn that into cash.
So what I really hear you saying is that you're asking the staff to be mindful of our cash position.
No, we have to be mindful too.
I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that we're not driving it, but that's not our job. I mean, we're gonna work with what they have, what's in the portfolio, and that yes, they understand what they have, what they want to
Yeah.
be done.
Our cash is going from $3 million in, I think, 2016 to now 1 point, what is it?
1.8.
1.8.
5.8. So, yeah, we have to be very concerned about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
We have a first and a second, and I'm sure this will actually become an item we talk about at our retreat as well.
Certainly. Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets?
Yes.
Ms. Revel?
Yes.
And Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That's a big one.
All right, for the benefit of Mr. Scott, we did discuss 1021 High Street. That's the property, Mary Jane property. There was some discussion about painting it, and it turns out that city staff is recommending demolish. Our vice mayor had had a question that the staff is going to check back into regarding some tax credits, but that was primarily just an update.
Okay.
And I did have one question before we jumped out of that. Fully, is my understanding is that the city CIP funding that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's the city CIP funded?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any other questions around that? We're good? Okay. Mr. Moore, Monumental United Methodist facade improvement.
Certainly. The authority will remember that Monumental United Methodist Church received a facade improvement grant of $25,000, or the approval for said grant. Certainly, I'm sure everyone has been made aware of the recent fire that has occurred. I have spoken to Mr. Robert Scott and Mr. Barham at length about the project. They do not know at this point when that will be completed. They are still assessing the damage that has been done to the property. But I have advised them and have made the recommendation to the chairman, and would certainly ask the authority that staff be allowed to work with the church and extend grant, essentially an indefinite extension of their facade improvement grant to allow them the opportunity to start the project, really finish it, and just work with them as they go through this process.
I spoke with Mr. Barron on Saturday, and the church is working very aggressively with drying out the church and saving the artifacts that are in the church. We are very fortunate to have had a fire team and our complement of fire departments that came in to help to have actually saved the interior of the church. The most damaged by fire is the steeple, but the water inside that they are addressing. They're probably going to have the generators and the drying for another 3 to 4 weeks, but they are looking to have the church complete and up and running within the year. So this is a project that is really moving aggressively.
That's good to hear. So I think what we need to make sure we're all kind of at just a quick consensus of us is to allow staff to continue to work with the church and then to update us regularly on that, but not necessarily have them file an extension or anything, because this is really an extenuating circumstance.
Yes, it is.
If,
Yes, it is.
if you're in agreement, everybody's in agreement with that.
Yes, most definitely.
I think that would be probably the most appropriate way of handling this. And if you can just kind of update us just regularly on that, that'd be great. Sounds good.
So, yes, sir.
Next item is the North Pier study. Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir. Back in August, I believe the EDA was apprised of a request to and the need to update the study regarding the North Pier. In working with engineering, staff has received the cost estimate for the update. That is $9,530. So we want to bring that to your attention so that we can move forward with having the item updated by Moffitt and Nichols.
And this was, I think, we've talked about this not just in August, but I think several months even prior to that as kind of the next step of this development from the Breeden Properties.
Yes, sir.
So the cost of the study, $9,500 and some change, it appears. It looks like we do have this scheduled for a vote. Does anybody have any concerns or questions before we go to the vote on this?
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets? Ms. Rebel?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
All right, next item that's before the group here is, we actually should have taken a motion.
Should take a motion.
That's what I was.
We should have gone a motion and a second on that. We jumped the gun a little
Excited,
bit
yeah,
there.
jump through.
Let's take a
Motion.
motion.
I'll move to accept.
Mr. Scott,
Second.
second. Ms. Revel, let's try again.
Let's try one more time.
I know I
We should have had some coffee here.
Yeah, there you go. Mr. Hines,
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets,
Yes.
Ms. Revel,
Yes.
and Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Now the actual motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, and some new business here is the appointment of our secretary. For the last few months, we've had our assistant secretary, Mr. Moore, filling in for this spot as a matter of our business here before us is to go ahead and appoint us a new secretary. We will accept a motion for appointing a new secretary. In the past, it has been our Director of Economic Development. I believe it's actually in our bylaws as well.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
move. Second?
All right, Mr. Hines,
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets,
Yes.
Ms. Revel,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next item is potential date for a retreat. I turn it over to Mr. Moore, Secretary.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. We have, in working with the chairman and staff, we have come up with a date for the Economic Development Authority's retreat. Your meeting in February is actually February the 20th, which is a Tuesday. Staff is proposing the 23rd, which is that Friday, for the retreat and for the meeting. So you'd have a joint meeting. You'd have a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then the retreat will start at 9. Hopefully, we'll be done by about 4. So a full day. But we are proposing 8 o'clock meeting, or moving that meeting from the 20th to the 23rd, starting at 8. And then, the retreat will start at 9, ending at about 4. The retreat would be held at the Renaissance. We have secured that date and would like the EDA's input on that.
Any conflicts with the 23rd?
One of the rare days that I do have free, so I absolutely I like that.
We hear that.
Any conflicts?
I don't know yet. I'll have to check.
Okay. Please check on that date, Commissioners. Secondly, as a matter of setting an agenda for this meeting, I'd love to hear from you all.
Before we do that, can we go ahead and confirm that date, that that's going to be the date? So we won't have to wait till another meeting?
Well, we're going to go ahead and confirm unless there's some major conflicts where I cannot have a quorum at this point. How about that? But in the meantime, within the next week to 10 days, we would like to have any and all discussion items that you would like to be brought forth. So staff will have adequate time to research and to make presentations, to get together presentations for the retreat as well. And also, I just want to make sure, just my personal comment, I wouldn't be doing my job as chairman if I didn't bring this to, pretty much all of us have gone through a VITA training already. Please do not make this like a new commissioner training. We would like to hear a true retreat item, not necessarily, we're all kind of caught up to speed where we need to be, I think, in terms of where our role is and things of that nature.
Noted.
So you want us over the next week or so to give you some feedback on what we like to see on the agenda?
Yes, absolutely. That would be great. Week to 10 days would be fine. All right. Mr. Moore has an...
I do have one additional item that is not currently listed on the agenda. As you all may recall, City Council has made it prevalent for them as a body to meet with the additional bodies throughout the city, in that they have had 2 joint work sessions with the EDA in the last, say, 12 months. There is another meeting scheduled for this Monday, the 22nd, another work session, joint work session, and want to bring that to everyone's attention, and would certainly like for everyone to respond back to staff as soon as possible to make sure that we will have a quorum that day or that evening.
And just one item, I think I saw our city manager as well, but one item I would like to request of staff is, I'm sure I'm learning about this literally as well. One thing I would like to know, if we get from staff, is I'm sure there's some sort of schedule that's with the city clerk. I'd like to have that distributed so we can all know of these dates well in advance, because this is highly irregular, and it's not the way I like to do business as a chairman. So please, if you can get that to us, that would be greatly appreciated.
The council adopts a schedule every first meeting in January since the beginning of time, I would guess. And it is the city council schedule. It's online, it's in information that is sent. And that's an annual responsibility of the council at the first meeting each year. And it is with the city council of when I came, so in 2015, council, I came in September, so that January, they had set meetings to meet more regularly with some of the boards and commissions that they appoint. So
You just happen to be first.
Oh, and
every year, and that's going to be every year from until it's changed.
And that's perfectly fine. I just think just additional communication would be helpful, I would think.
Right.
Just to make sure that, everybody is equipped with the correct information is all I'm asking for at this point.
Right, and I guess the question is, as Mr. Moore said very early, if there's today, those EDA members who are here, are you able to attend the meeting on Monday at 5
Because if
o'clock?
there's not a quorum, we'll
It's not
have
a
other
quorum,
something
then
to
it's
do.
just removed.
Mr. Scott, you say?
I can make it.
Okay, I certainly can make it as
5
chairman. I'll make it a priority to Monday, 5 o'clock. Any concerns about who's here?
5 o'clock or 6?
Is it 6 or 5?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
On Monday, yeah. 5 o'clock on Tuesday. Mhm. I had another question.
So did we confirm that at least we have these four?
Should try our
On a
best.
short
How about,
notice,
can we just let everybody know by Thursday? Is that a reasonable? Okay.
I can let you know now, so
All
don't
right,
expect
I'll
to
be,
hear from me again.
okay.
Okay.
Us two have said yes. I'll reach out to the other commissioners as well. Madam City Manager?
Yeah, I just had, I wanted to go back to the brief conversation about the retreat, the EDA retreat. And the EDA retreat is the EDA that sets the agenda for your retreat. I think I'm hearing, asking the EDA staff to come up with an agenda for the retreat.
We usually have in the past worked with the EDA director. And I think it's particularly important to hear from Mr. Moore, especially with some of his vision items.
Exactly.
Okay.
And our job is not necessarily to manage him in any way, shape, fashion, or form, but it is to support him.
Right.
And if his vision, it'd be good to hear from him.
Right,
because
but
it is
that would be one part of a whole day retreat. Or do you all want anybody, an outside speaker to come in to present? Or, I mean, a retreat is several items scheduled out.
Well, exactly right. And Mr. Moore and I have actually talked about, there are several outstanding items that this body has brought to Mr. Moore that he's been researching. That's part of this. Part of them is larger than just a yes or no answer or a handout. Some of these requests are pretty detailed in terms of how can EDA participate in workforce and help in workforce development. That's a pretty big discussion item.
All right, and could we bring somebody in from workforce development to
Exactly
present?
right. Exactly right. And I think what we're trying to do is get a pulse of what this group would like to see, so that way we can, in concert with staff, say, okay, what do we want to concentrate these 2 or 3 items that we really want to make our focus point, our focal point for the next 12 months. So I think, naturally, though, I think it's a great time to listen to what Robert needs what he wants to drive to as well. And with new leadership, we want to make sure we do that.
Right, but
Exactly.
that's not,
Well, in anticipation of this discussion, staff has begun putting together an agenda that will include and should address all of the things that were just spoken of here. What we would like is, again, for the EDA to send us those items that they specifically have questions about that may have come up since any discussions that we have had here in the EDA meeting. We, again, have an agenda formed. We won't get into what that is right now, but that agenda does address, we feel, all of the items that you all want to hear about, all of the things that should be addressed with regards to additional speakers coming in, opportunities to be apprised of the happenings of economic development, our economic development strategy, and so forth. And it will be a full day, and we look forward to everyone being there.
do you have a facilitator?
We have,
Last year you had Mrs. Perrier. I mean, I'm just asking the question. Is there a facilitator for your retreat?
Can I weigh in on this, please?
Actually, let's ask the city manager. We are still very much in the planning stages, actually.
Oh, okay.
We really want to know the truth.
Okay.
I mean, we're just floating the date at this point.
Okay.
To make sure, A, the date's
That works.
right.
Good, I
And B,
understand.
we want
That
to
way
make sure
we
we have
can-
the topics.
Okay.
So then we can get a facilitator.
You all are under construction.
We are
Yes,
definitely
ma'am.
under construction still.
Good, thank you. No
We're
further
in phase
discussion.
one construction here. We're not in final completion.
No further discussion,
All right.
please.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Davis.
Yes, I want to weigh in on this because my background being in economic development, it is possible to have an economic development retreat and not have a facilitator outside of the department. Mr. Moore, you could actually be the facilitator as well as put forth, because it's a personal interest, I believe, for all of our commissioners. We need to get a better grip on the vision of the city of Portsmouth for economic development
certainly.
initiatives, prospect, recruitment. We need to hear more about projects that are in the hopper that we as the EDA Commission have not been informed of yet. As our chairman mentioned, we don't need the kind of retreat where, we're trying to get to know each other. I think we know each other pretty well. We really want some meat and potatoes on this issue. And now, I'm giving you my perspective, having had to participate in retreats before. And we normally, for economic development, would identify the very types of prospects that we want to pursue and the strategy for pursuing those prospects. And that does really fall in the lap of the Director of Economic Development.
Certainly. So you will hear at the retreat, the number one focus at the retreat, other than items that you all bring to the table, will be the economic development strategy and how we will do things going forward. Our vision as a staff, my vision as a director. And so, again, I will just leave it at that. We certainly want to make sure we nail down the date. However, to make sure that I have time to clearly state that for you all, but it sounds like the 23rd of February will be the date not only of the retreat, but also the date of the next EDA meeting. So we will handle it from there, but I think you all will be certainly satisfied with what we have put together so far. Again, I look forward to any additions that we should receive from the commission.
Just to echo again, Mr. Moore and our city manager, this is your retreat. So these are items that need to become from you. And this is the reason why we brought this in this fashion, is I wanted people to, and the public to understand that this is our retreat. These are items that concern you. These are vision items, vision requests, questions, all the things. Is just lay this thing out on the table and get clarity on things that you may not be necessarily clear on as well. So again, I'd like to set a week to 10 days, preferably a week from today.
Okay, I do want to weigh in on something else. I believe there has not been a final decision on increasing the appointment of the commissioners. So that's maybe up in the air. So then my next question is February, is that the best time to do this retreat? Do you think you need more time?
So, Ms. Jiggets, can you say that again? I couldn't hear you.
Commissioner Kelly, I understand he's still on, but his term expired. So I did not know if council was going to appoint someone as a replacement, and if that's the case, if by February the 23rd that hasn't happened, maybe we should delay the retreat.
Don't delay your retreat.
No, don't delay.
Okay, well, it's February.
My
a
guess
good
is there'll be
time?
an appointment, but don't delay
Yeah,
your work over one commissioner.
What will happen
Okay.
in this situation, and I would request staff to kind of do this in concert, which would be, naturally, we would try, do our normal retreat, but then we have our onboarding, our typical onboarding for new commissioners. We'll try to get them caught up to
Yeah, do that
speed.
one-on-one
So that'll be kind of a one-on-one kind of thing.
Was there any reason why we selected the month of February? I'm just trying to.
Actually, I kind of made it
Yes.
a preference, because I think if we're going to set visions for our next 12 months, I think the sooner we set that vision and then start taking steps to move towards that vision, we're going to need more time than if we set this in April and we set really big, visions or wishes going forward. Then, if we set it in April, we have 2 less months to get there.
Yes.
So it was kind of something I think we need to get out ahead of, and to make it our priority is to really hear from you guys, and then also to hear from staff as soon as. So that was kind of my rationale, is to have it sooner than later.
The final thing I'll say is, yes, staff is prepared to have the
Okay,
retreat.
that's what I wanted to
We
hear.
are fine there. We
Okay.
also wanted to have this retreat in February because the joint EDA, PPIC, and City Council retreat is in March, if I'm not mistaken. So that each body is prepared to, and has come to the table with an open and clear mind. We thought it'd be best to have the retreat in February. So we are prepared. We, again, just want to have the final input from you all, and we, again, look forward to the 23rd.
Do you already have the date for the March retreat?
That was actually March the 10th was the date that was set by council when
March the
they.
10th.
So that was March the 10th.
And then you have city council's retreat 2nd and 3rd.
February.
Right.
So it's a lot of retreats coming.
Second and third of March.
Lots of retreats right in a row.
Yeah, that's,
Is that the one with PRHA as well? We put PRHA
but
on
we
that.
don't have to worry about the city council because we're just doing the March.
I'm just doing the March the 10th. to-
No, you're attending the March 10th, but you
Right.
are yours is the 23rd.
Third of
And I was just
February, yeah.
mentioning, it's a series of retreats.
And the city
Yeah.
council is
I see.
February 2nd, so we will
Second
have
and
all
third.
had our
Retreat by-
little time together.
Certainly.
All right, in the interest of time and maintaining a quorum, I'm actually going to make a small adjustment to our meeting. We'll go ahead and move our closed meeting up, and so we can keep our quorum. With that, we're going to need a motion to go into closed meeting.
The motion is there. Either one.
If you don't mind, that'd be great.
Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the EDA desires to enter into a closed meeting, and whereas in compliance with the requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, the topics to be discussed are set forth below. And the subparagraphs of paragraph 2.2-3711A of the Virginia Code authorizing discussion of the topics in closed session are set forth in parentheses after each topic. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners shall meet in closed meeting for the purposes of consultation with legal counsel pertaining to actual or probable litigation, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body. The Commons at Portsmouth Center, and discussions are consideration of the investment of public funds where competition or bargain is involved, where if made public initially, the financial interest of the governmental unit would be adversely affected, parentheses TCC 6.
That's our motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hines,
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets,
Yes.
Ms. Rebel,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Closed session.
Oh, yeah, for you.
Come out when you come out. Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Ms. Jiggets?
Yes.
Ms. Revel?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
We're in open session.
All right, we done? I gotta go.
All right. I know Mr. Scott has
I have to go.
this item there. Do you have any comment real quick as you pack up?
I do not have any comments.
Sounds good.
Keep up the good work.
Ms. Revel?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I do. I wanted to let the larger body know that the subcommittee that was working on the grants programs had scheduled a meeting which was postponed because of the snow. So I was hoping that Tracy would be here and we could meet after this, but we will have to schedule another.
I would just like to say that I would like to send Kathy and Tracy another email because I have another thought about increasing
We would welcome that. Thank you.
coverage. And I'll say it has to do with the faith-based community.
All right. Two items, actually, three housekeeping items. Mr. Thompson was not able to be here today due to medical reasons. I'd like the minutes to reflect that. Commissioner Kelly was traveling, so he notified me of that, of those items. Two real quick items. One, it seems like every month, as chairman, I do get the distinct pleasure of announcing somebody at this table was inside business. Mr. Moore had a very nice article written up about Mr. Moore and his accomplishments, and basically introducing everybody to our new director. It was a very nice article. If you haven't had a chance to read it, please take a few minutes to do so. We can actually send you out the link to that. If you need that, please notify me. Second and last item is at each one of your stations here is the statement of financial interest. Please fill this out and get this to the clerk's office by no later than February 1st. It is very, very important. I believe the city clerk has notified everybody already with this, but I wanted to make sure everybody had a copy of this in front of them. It may be worthwhile to take a few minutes before you start your day and go ahead and fill this out and get it over to the clerk if you possibly can. Again, February 1st is the deadline. I do not believe we meet again until after that deadline has come and gone. So please make sure you take a few minutes to get that taken care of.
And if I could, Chairman, another quick announcement. Speaking of inside business, I don't think it's come out in print as of yet, but a new Portsmouth business, Yolks on Us, which is a breakfast and lunch establishment is just opened at 515 Washington Street. They are open and they are profiled in Inside Business, so we can also send that link out as well. So you all can see that. We will be scheduling a ribbon cutting. We're working on that right now through the mayor's office, so we will let you all know when that happens. We certainly would also like you all to attend as best as possible going forward the ribbon cutting, so we will make sure that once the schedule is placed on the mayor's calendar, that we will send the invite to the EDA as well, again, to show that support and that community involvement that the EDA certainly likes to portray. So,
And what's the name of the business again?
Yolks,
Yolks, Y-O-L-K?
YOOLKS. Yeah, on Us. 515 Washington. They've been open. They did a soft opening right before the new year, and then I think they officially opened on like the 6th of January. But if you ask pretty much any public utilities or public works individual, they've been there and they've enjoyed it. So they're only open from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And they serve this kind of Southern comfort breakfast, if you will. So if you have a resolution to lose some weight, you may want to avoid that space.
Why are you looking at me?
Should be looking at me on that
I'm just speaking to you in that direction. So other than that, staff is
one. All right. Staff is good?
Yep.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
all right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we can do this. Get out tomorrow.